Yeah, so thank you very much and welcome everyone. Next year I hopefully get a bigger room. So we're talking today about a new framework for monitoring Windows. So at first, who am I? My name is Stein, working for NETWAYS since almost 8 years now in the sales department. So in my spare time, I do lots of Windows development. I maintain 2 YouTube channels, jogging, skiing, and everything else that I have still time for. And today we are talking about Icinga and Windows. So, what do we have? We have plenty of possibilities to monitor actual Windows environments. So we have WebMI interfaces, we have DNS client, we have PowerShell, we have some sort of tools and plugins and whatever, but it's really not a user-friendly experience in general. So, who saw my last 2 talks at OSMC? Okay, still a few. So, basically, where did we all start? At first, we had one simple PowerShell module to ensure we can actually make the installation of the Icinga agent easier. So, take care of certificate generation, install the agent, update the agent, and simply ensure Icinga is running. That is the result. That's only the first 200 lines of code, and the result in the end, over 3,400 lines of code in one single PowerShell script file. The funny part is, it's not even close to describe the complexity of the module because it's very hard to maintain. I see lots of complaints about it. You can't extend it, you can't fix bugs properly, and yeah, it just grow over time. So, then last year, I showed a first prototype of a new PowerShell module. What the PowerShell module did was to ensure that you collect all the Windows metrics you actually have on your system and then display them in Icinga Web 2. Was a great idea, but also here we have a problem. We have no real communication layer to ensure that you get data from one point to another to Icinga 2, because the Icinga cluster protocol only works with Icinga 2. You have the Icinga Web API, but it's hard for distributed environments, for getting actually data over the closed network zones to your master or whatever. And the monitoring was quite tricky, because when you collect data from something and you apply a check plugin on it, for example, you get every 5 minutes, you get data from your Windows system, you check every minute, you will always have 5 minutes of the same data. So it's not very useful at all, and that also applies to monitoring. So, we are going to a new way, and as Java is running on every device, we're going with Java. I'm very glad this expression happened from you guys. So, what do we have? I love editing videos. Don't worry, I will do the demo a little slower. So, what do we have? We took the module we did last year and redesigned it entirely from scratch. So, what we wanted to give everyone was an easy framework for installation, for updating, and for writing own Icinga plugins. So, everything works simply from the framework itself that's installed on the Windows system, and each plugin will hook up into the framework and use all available components. So you don't have to take care about performance metrics. You don't have to care about anything else for comparing values together, because the framework will easily do most of the stuff for you. And it will work starting with PowerShell 4.0. So every single Windows system running PowerShell 4.0 should actually work. We tested it with 2012 R2, 2016 and 2019, and you can get it on the GitHub repository Icinga PowerShell framework. Now, what do we have in general in mind? We have actually 4 single repositories. We have our PowerShell Kickstarter. That's what you saw quickly in the video. That's simply a short PowerShell script you can download directly into your shell to get started very easily. We also will provide PowerShell Gallery modules this week. So we're just working with PowerShell Gallery to get everything up there, but every module will be released there as well. We have the framework in general, and the framework will manage all the plugins and possible daemons. We have the plugin collection. Every plugin is with an own PowerShell GitHub repository, which means if you wish to update plugins, you only have to update the plugins. You don't have to touch the framework. If there's a bug in a plugin, simply update the plugins, and there you go. No Icinga agent update required, no framework update required. Simply update a plugin, and it will just work. And we have a service daemon, and that's written in C#, that allows us to run PowerShell as a background daemon to ensure that we get, for example, metrics out of our system. So when I talk to people, we have DNS client, for example. The main advantage they say is, well, DNS client is running as a daemon. It collects my CPU metrics, and I have 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes in an average. This is what a PowerShell daemon will do in addition. And of course, you can write your own daemons if you require something to check regularly, to do regularly. It's not a big problem. So now we talk about lots about what we have, and actually, when is the launch, where do you get it, and how to use it. Okay, that takes longer than expected. I want to make the enterprise launch cool, but we released it today. Everything is released in its own repository right now with RC1. So if you want to use it, you can download it, you can get started, and please give us feedback for that. So let's do a quick demo, and hopefully this works. When I close this, will it work? Close. Hello. Yeah. Okay. So what do I have? I have two Windows systems here. Windows 2019 with nothing changed. We have a plain installation of Windows with all updates installed. And when you want to get started, we have, for example, our PowerShell framework. Now what the framework allows you is, with the installation guide, to get started very quickly. We have right now the manual installation, so what you simply can do is you download the latest stable version, copy it into your Windows PowerShell module directly, and do everything by yourself, or you can automate it. The third one will be PowerShell Gallery, which, yeah, you can see it, will be PowerShell Gallery, which will release during the week, and we have our Kickstart script. So the Kickstart script looks quite messy, but what it will do it will get to the Icinga PowerShell Kickstart repository and actually load the script file into your shell. I know it's not very common, but that was a very easy way for not having PowerShell Gallery. So I'm starting the shell as administrator. I hope the internet connection will work with me. Hello? Hello? Live demos, it's so great. Can I just play the video again? With slower speed, of course. Hello? Hello? Hello. Yeah, make a live demo, it works always. I can't copy. Okay. Hello, Internet Explorer. My old friend. Markus, for editing the video afterwards, can you please add hello, my old friend, the song? That would be great. Does GitHub even show up? Yeah. It still works in Internet Explorer, great. At least I can hopefully copy my Kickstart script out of it. The funny part is I tested this 20 times, and every time it worked. Of course, when you are standing here and do the presentation, of course it fails. Okay, so now we're getting started. I was too quick. So, what the script will first ask you if you provide an own repository for the framework. So, if your machines are not able to connect to the internet, you can provide an own repository URL right now. We will switch it later in addition that you can provide on a local share. Right now, you can only have a web site, for example, and place all of your components there. That includes the plugins, the service, and the framework itself. So I'm using the internet right now, and now it asks me if I want to install the Snapshot or the stable build. So Snapshot is very simple. It will go to the master branch and just clone the repository there. Stable will get the latest stable version. And then it will ask me, where do you want to actually install the module into? You see, here is one part that's recommended to install it on the program files. Please do not install it in your local or in your private user folder if you intend to use the module with, for example, the network service user, because the network service user will not be able to access it by default. So we're doing that, and now it will download the framework and install everything, and ensure the files are unblocked, that you can start using it. And once we are done, it will ask me now if we want to actually install the agent or run the agent install wizard. So who knows the PowerShell module for Icinga, the installation module? Okay, are you happy with it? Okay, I hit a yes, okay. So basically, what the install agent wizard does, you can, everything I type in now, you can add as an argument for automation. However, if you get to know the 200 lines of code for each single argument, what argument is for what and how is the combination, how do you do it? The wizard will afterwards give you everything as an output. So, we want to use the director self-service API because that one took me the entire weekend to fix it and to get it working properly. So, sales net Icinga to a int NETWAYS. If I mistype now, so sales net, come on, yes. So, and now it asks me if I want to override arguments by the Icinga director. So, if you use the API from director, if you know, who knows the self-service API? Okay, a few. For those who don't know it, the self-service API gives us the possibility to fetch a template or a host with an API key. And based on this key, you will get a list of configuration you did either manually and, of course, in which zone the agent actually is running into. So if you have, for example, a master satellite and Icinga, the Windows host, is placed here, the director will know that the Icinga host is placed here. So it will automatically generate your configuration that you connect to these endpoints later on. So the communication is very easy. So I don't want to override it, and now I need the self-service API key. Yeah, I can't copy-paste. So what we will do, Windows agent, hello. So this is the call of the old module that will automate everything in general. What we'll now do is we will copy the key, and hopefully it works this time. Please just work. 9. You know, live demos are great. Next time, next year, we'll entire everything as a video and just show that. So we can of course call it again. Let's skip the self-service API then. So now it asked me if I want to manually specify a host name. The default values are always in uppercase here, so you can say, yeah, I want the FQDN, and I want to transform it to lowercase, and it will print me out the name. And yes, the issue with the old module that .workgroup was assigned is fixed here, so that won't happen again. And I want to install the Icinga agent now. I want to use packages Icinga.com, and now it asked me which version I want to install. What's new? You can either type in 2.11.0, 2.11.1, or you can simply use latest, which is also the default. Now I can do my endpoint configuration. So, if I want to use a different port, I can assign the port here. And if my endpoint can actually connect to the master for all the certificate generation. So, we have 3 ways to generate our certificates for the Icinga agent. Using a ticket, using the self-service API, or using the Icinga CA proxy, or without ticket, so it's 4 actually. What happens in general is that this module will cover everything. So let's have one use case, for example. You're an operator of your monitoring environment, and you have the Windows team deploying a new Windows system. They can simply deploy the system with all the agent installed, with everything ready, and what you will get is a signing request for a certificate later. That's very easy, and I hopefully can show it. Then we can, for example, can open the firewall. We get the network destinations, and that one is automatically built based on the input you did before. It will automatically build the configuration for connections where your service is located, or where your host is located, the port, and you can also override it here. The default zone is master. I will leave it that way. Yes, we want to add director global. We want global templates, and now you can also add custom global zones, for example. Then we have for our, if we use a different host for our CA master, for the certificate authority, we can add it here. By default, it will just pick the first one you entered above. Now we have a ticket. No, we don't have a ticket. Now it asks us if you want to change the Icinga service. By default, it's running under the network service. We don't want to change it. And yes, we want to install the Icinga plugins. We want to do a stable here. So you see, it's a lot of pressing enter if you're using default. Then it asks us if you want to use the PowerShell framework as a service. Yes. No, we have no custom source. We use the default install location. And now we get an output of all arguments we are having. Is this configuration correct? Yes. And now it asks us if you want to run it, or if you don't want to run it, and in any way, it will print you the entire configuration string out, so you can copy it and paste it on another Windows system, and you're good to go. So, That takes a while. Let's see if the other one. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
If I choose to not run it as a service?
Then it will not install it as a service.
That means I have to run it through a cron job or something manually and only get.
So basically, when you you can start the PowerShell, it has an argument for it if you want to run it as a daemon, and then it will simply endlessly loop. So if you want to have a scheduled task, for example, you can do it. You can have it open as within a hidden PowerShell, for example, directly at your Windows boot up, so you don't actually require to run it as a service. So you can run it also in the foreground, for example, if you wish to. So let's see if I can do copy-paste here. Please just work. That would be great. Hello? Yeah, I tried. Maybe it's the, okay. We'll do something else. Never change something that's properly working. So, let's do the old-fashioned way. So, does it work? At OSMC 2 at O. Net OSMC. It isn't too hard, it's 4 letters. So, administrator.
Quick question on this note.
Yes?
Can you just provide an answer file instead of series of options? They'll run the installer and this is the answer file in block and let it go?
You can specify, for example, when you start the wizard, you can add all the arguments that are required. So it worked through. And we also have some test output here. I will get to it later. Where is the? So we have what you have here. This is the actual configuration the wizard gives you. So if you take that and run it on another Windows host, then it will just use this configuration and do exactly the same configuration there.
Understood. But then you have like an option that says answer file. And on the answer file, it's a plain text file with all of these options and you just read it.
That's not yet supported, but that could be done. But it's not yet supported. But that's a good idea. Can you write it down, please? Thank you. So, okay, let's get that one. Hopefully it works here, please. Yeah, we have copy-paste. So, let's do it with the self-service API from the director now. All I do is I simply copy-paste the script here as well and do the same stuff there. So install the module, and now it will ask me to run the wizard. Takes a while. Any questions so far?
Yeah. When you do install this as a service, you're actually replacing something like an NS client with its PowerShell running on its own and registering to Icinga song, right?
Yes, you will no longer require the NS client. That's true.
Yeah, but if I'm to, old-fashioned as I was to go through NS client, I still have the module so I can invoke any plugin to actually run a shell.
Yes, so basically the plugins are designed more or less a standalone. There's one dependency you have, that's the framework, but if you have the framework installed, the plugins will take care of it, and you can also execute them through an S-client or any other monitoring solution.
So pretty much it's like mirroring the just plug the Centrion plugins in which you have a framework with one series of plugins for SMMP, but instead of doing that, you have it on PowerShell. So you have your own framework and all the plugins and you can call it.
Yeah, so the question was if you want to replace an S-client in the first place, and the second question was for the framework.
But if I can run the framework just like from the command line, I say I don't want the client, I just want to say check CPU. So I start PowerShell and I
Yeah, so the question was if we can run the plugins in PowerShell, then, for example, directly in CLI. Yes, that's possible. So this time we use the Director Safe Service API. I typed this URL the entire weekend, I think, and also did it wrong. Great. So, director. Yeah, seems correct. So, no, I don't want to override them. And now we are taking the self-service API key. Please work now, please work. Yeah. So, now it will fetch the configuration, and now it asks me again if I want to install the plugins. Stable. And if I want to install it as a service. And you can also skip the plugin installation. You can skip the plugin installation, you can skip the framework installation, that's not a big deal. Looking on the time. So, okay. Also here, you can simply copy that one, and then you can deploy it on a different system that will automatically install updates in the framework there as well. So, now what it will do, hopefully it's already there. Let's see. We have a new host. Like the old module, it will register the host within the director. And now I simply add the operating system. Let's say it's Windows 2019. And then I will deploy the configuration. Yes? Because that's something that's currently not allowed in the director. You can't because I'm using the self-service API, and the self-service API does not allow adding custom variables to the system right now. That's truly an option we would, or I would like to see. I have to discuss with Tom what he thinks about it, but that would be, of course, a great idea. On the other hand, the problem is what you have when you have the host registered by self-service API with some values, and for example, you have an import source and a sync rule in the director, it will always override itself again and again and again. So that's something where we somehow need to find a solution for that, but I will discuss it with Tom when he's back in the office. So, now what happens, what you will see is we have some outputs here, we have some past outputs. So basically what happens is, hello, Shell. Test Icinga agent. You can run it manually, and for example, you will get an output if the service is installed, if the user you assigned the service to can actually run as a service, and if all directories are readable and writable required. Then we, for example, can enable Icinga agent feature, and I want to enable a debug log, for example, which will work. If we do it again, we will get a warning that the debug log is enabled, so you will never forget again to disable your debug log. So, then for those, read Icinga agent log file. You can also read the log file, like a tail on Linux. Thank you. It's a simple command. Of course, if you know PowerShell, you can do it all yourself, but there are plenty of helper functions and plenty of utilities built into this entire framework to make your life and maintaining the agent a lot easier, and also writing plugins a lot easier. So, now let's take another use case, for example. Let's say you don't like the service running as network service user. So let's get to users and add a new user. Here it is. So user, new user, we call it Icinga, and of course a very secure password that fits every Microsoft guidelines, so we don't want to change it. User cannot change it and it doesn't go off. Okay, so we have the user. Set Icinga, oh God, agent service user, user, password, get. So that's a secure string. So we have to do get credential, password, and we want to set permissions afterwards. So let's get a prompt. Yeah. I missed one argument. User Icinga. Come on. So I hope I didn't mistype it. It's running as a different user. And what happens, it will also, if you set the set permission flag, it will automatically update all directory permissions that the Icinga use, the new user you created, can access it, write log files, so the agent will no longer crash if you change the user and don't know why is the agent crashing. So let's see if the agent is running. Yeah, here it is. Let's see if we can restart it. Okay, it's running. So that's very simple. Now, plugins. Whenever you install the plugins, they will automatically be loaded. And for example, let's get the load check. So we have a check package that's CPU load. If you follow me on Twitter, then you will already see something similar. And we can also, for example, say, okay, we warrant a warning with 30%. Okay, great, thank you. Give me a warning. Okay, so now we have a warning, and each single core we're having right now is affected. So when you have 60 thread CPU, it will check every single core, because, for example, you have one single-threaded application that's killing core 5, for example. You maybe want to get to know about it. So what you can also do is manually specify the core, and then its core total, for example, the average. What also happens is when we, for example, say we want to have critical 40, that actually was Marco's idea. Let's say 56. Let's see what happens. Here, no. Oh, come on. Stop flapping that much. Okay, now we have it. What happens is, this is the first line that's displayed within Icinga Web 2. It will automatically tell you the check package itself is critical. Critical is core 1, and these cores are all warning. So it will sort of filter everything. It will filter them by name and by state. And yeah, now we have a simple CPU check here. Now let's say, for example, register Icinga service check. So what this does, I can now tell the daemon behind, or the service, forgot the name, the Windows time thing. How is it called again? Thank you. Yes. To run the framework. And now I want check command, invoke Icinga check CPU. I want an interval every 10 seconds. And then time indexes. Let's say, for example, I want 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, and 30 minutes. So, restart Icinga service, Icinga PowerShell. No. So, what now happens is, it will register the CPU check within the daemon, and the daemon will now execute this check every 10 seconds and store all the metrics and build all the values you have here within the time indexes and print them out automatically without doing anything to the plugin. You will automatically get all metrics from the system. So there are a lot of metrics right now. As here, core 2, 5, for example. Core 1, 3 minutes. core 3, 15 minutes, and so on. So this is also reboot safe. If you restart the PowerShell agent, it will simply load up the previous values and work with them again. So how does this look now in Icinga? We did some checks here. So let's see if they are all working. Come on. So, oh no! Our load check is not working. Why? We have a permission error that the plugin is not able, or the framework is not able to fetch performance counters. So what we did was to ensure that in case you are lacking permissions to do something, the framework will not just crash, it will not just give you an empty string with unknown, it will actually tell you what is the problem, why it happened, and how you can fix it. So what we can do, for example, now, how many time I have? Okay. So, groups. And now we have, for example, I think it's that one. So, Icinga. Let's add the user here. It actually tells it you, running into performance log users group. You have to simply add the user into this group, and then it should work. And now when we restart, Icinga 2. So, and now when the agent is restarted, we should actually get performance metrics out of it. Same goes for disk. It's the same issue. We're using plenty of performance counters here, and you can get this data out. So, we also have a service check for the Icinga service. And as long as everything is green, you won't get any information about it. We have, for example, the host, we have the service here, and it's fine. Now let's see what the load check will do, and here it works. Gives you all the metrics out for every single core. That's just a verbosity flag right now, because it's turned out to max, and it will print out every single check package you have, and give you all the status out of it. By default, if everything is okay, you will only see this line as, for example, with the service. Yeah, so service configuration. For example, what we have is that, let's get Icinga. Oh no, we do it differently. So, because I'm a little running out of time. So basically, what we can do is we create our own plugin now. Let's say we call it Icinga OSMC. So, new file, Icinga OSMC PSM1. And for example, what you can do is, come on, better? I just have to adjust this a little bit. So, invoke Icinga check OSMC. So, very important is to automatically being detected by the framework, you require to use this first place. Invoke Icinga check, that's the actual namespace every plugin will follow, and if this is followed, every single plugin is automatically detected by the framework, and you can get configuration out of it. So, let's say, for example, we're on the parameter. Validate. I always mess this up. Whoops. Validate set. No, it was not. I always mess the syntax up. Here it is. Let's, for example, we want Bernd, Christian, and Alexander, because Alexander assisted very, very hard with this module. He did lots of work with it. And now we have, for example, the attendee argument. And for example, let's say, that's quite loose. And for example, warning. I still have some time. So now, to use the framework, I will have use Icinga. And what I do now is I will load it into PowerShell, into Visual Studio Code. And now I have the code completion active. I can do new Icinga check. That requires a name. Let's say, for example, we call it output. We add a value, let's say 10, and we want to add, you can also add minimum maximum, for example. We want this to be a percentage unit. And now we, for example, want check and warn out of range with our warning threshold. So what this will do, who is familiar with the Nagios developer guideline on how these arguments work with, okay, at least 2, 3, 4, okay, some people are. So there are 2 functions, warn out of range and crit out of range. What it will simply do, everything that's covered by the plugin itself. For example, add 10, Doppelpunkt, 20, for example, it will automatically translate it. So you can, for example, automatically get if it's inside the range, outside the range, greater, equal, whatever. That's simply done here. And now what we do is return new Icinga check result with our check. No path data, for example, false, and we want to compile it. So let's open up a shell and see what happens. Invoke Icinga check OSMC. Oh no, the module fails. Why? Because we need to initialize the framework. And now we get our output. Performance metrics are missing. Why? New Icinga check. That's weird. That should work. Let's do it again. But you get the idea. I don't know. It should work. So what we so I'm not spending now tons of time to fix this. So get Icinga check command might just something missing. We want to check invoke Icinga check OSMC. Let's, for example, place it directly under C. Oh, come on. Users, Stein, documents. So now I've exported this command, and it will automatically generate now a basket file. And this basket file we can use to upload it into the Icinga director. So what happens is, as we actually know what value, PowerShell OSMC, as you know with that exactly what arguments you're having, what type there actually are, you can do that, upload, take on snapshots. We have 1 data list, 2 commands, and 2 data fields. It will create a new data list, Icinga check OSMC user. It will actually create it, restore. So, and now when I go to commands, I will have, hopefully, the OSMC plugin here, and with an automatic drop-down field, what values are actually allowed to run for. So you can do parent here, add in a warning, and you're good to go, for example. So that's very easy because the more you maintain your code within the actual plugin, the more information you will have right inside your Icinga director. So, for example, let's have a check on the service check. You can add multiple services here. if we add a description for this actual argument, it will automatically be imported inside the Icinga director. And if you specify an argument as an array, it will automatically render it as an array in the director. That's very simple, but very user-friendly, because you no longer have to take care of, okay, what is this value? What can I input there? So everything is just here. It's an integer value. Let's see, check uptime, I think. Here. You can add a unit. So the uptime can be, for example, 20 hours. You simply add that, and the actual info within the director will tell you what to do, or what you can type in. So you can also say no performance data. You can simply flag it. You can add the verbosity level. And yeah, you're good to go. So I think I have 9 minutes, correct? Yes. Okay. So that's it so far. I just want to ensure that you have enough time for possible questions. Any questions? No questions? Okay. So wait. I'm not finished. So that's a short wrap up of actually what you can do with the framework and with the current state. What's next? We will, like I said before, we will publish it on Powershell Gallery, so you can install it directly from there if you're more comfortable doing that. And we will extend the plugins with MS SQL, Active Directory, Exchange, and Hyper-V. That are the next parts, including with some network checks. And of course, your contribution. So writing checks should be a lot easier, hopefully. But we would be happy to actually get your feedback back here. And Blairim asked me one thing. If you would like to, we would love to invite you to fill out the Icinga survey to tell you what you think about Icinga and how you use it. So that's so far from my side.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Are there any questions now? Come on.
You just showed that the modules are installed manually during the installation process once. Mm-hmm. Is there also a function included that will do updates regularly so that new functions are added and new stuff? Because managing that on a large scale environment probably is a little bit hard to maintain.
Let me show you something. Install Icinga framework plugins. So let's do stable. Your Icinga plugins are up to date. So when a new release is available, it will automatically get it. And if you wish to install Snapshot, hopefully it works now. 9. Yeah, it's a little issue with read protection. But general, yes, you can update the framework, you can update the plugins simply by a command. That's possible. So you can automate it, for example. That's possible. Let's try again.
Any more? Okay, we'll leave it for that. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
And please have another round of applause.